Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and we are back with the final game preview of the 2022-2023 Premier League season. The final one and undoubtedly the most important one as well. Everton taking on Bournemouth at Goodison Park this Sunday. A win, of course, would mean that Everton remain in the Premier League and will be playing Premier League football next season. A defeat or a draw would take that fate out of our own hands and would mean we are relying on both Leeds and Leicester City to drop points as well. This really is a humongous game of football. We sat here yesterday and we spoke about the enormity of this and just how important this is and whether or not this is the most important game of football in the last 25 years, as I refer to it as the one, the most important I can remember as an Evertonian. But even if it isn't, it's sort of a mute point, really. It doesn't really matter whether or not there's been more important games, in the past. What matters is Sunday is absolutely gargantuan and there's simply no other way to put it. Everton need to win this game of football and there is an element of me that is not necessarily happier knowing that we need to win, because obviously I would have liked, the eventuality of Everton only needing a point on Sunday to stay in the Premier League. However, I think, the necessity being to win almost leaves us with no room to be complacent and no room to sort of go into this game thinking, well, do you know what? If we get a point today, then that should be enough, or we'll play for a point, or, we should be all right either way because it'd mean the other two teams winning and we lose, etc., etc. Because it's those types of sort of scenarios that start to seep complacency and we've witnessed many Everton performances in the past where Everton have only needed to draw, or Everton have been in pole position to either finish in Europe or be top of the league or whatever it may be, and we've always we've more often than not always thrown it because of that complacency has sort of seeped into obviously the players and maybe us as fans a little bit as well. And there was a point where I was hearing a few people talking about, well, if we get a point against Bournemouth, then that should be enough, and if we'll only need a point, etc., etc. And as I said, don't get me wrong, I would love to be sat here in a position where we do only need a point, but the fact that we need to win this game, it makes it a lot more black and white for me. We win this game of football, then we don't have to worry about what happens in the games between Leicester City and Leeds United. Leeds could win 126-0, Leicester could win 58-0, doesn't matter. If we win this 1-0 and score a last-second goal off the back of somebody's arse, then it doesn't matter what score Leicester win, it doesn't matter what score Leeds win. If we lose this game, or we draw this game, then it's very much out of our hands, and if we are to be relegated off the back of of not winning on Sunday, then it's almost a deserving, sort of outcome to the situation that Everton are in, because I've said this before and I will say it again, we are extremely lucky to be in the position that we're in at the moment, and by that, I don't mean lucky as in the sense of us as fans are lucky. I mean the people who run this football club and who are in charge of this football club are unbelievably lucky to say that they are going into the final day of the season with this club's fate in its own hands, because that is not what we deserve. The way this football club has been ran, the way the idiots at the top of this football club have acted and have presented themselves over the last 12 months is not that of a football club that you could say deserves to have its fate in its own hands on the final day of the season. We didn't sign a single player in January. We've had board members come out and say that, and blame fans for incidents that we still have had no evidence actually happened. We've had the same board members come out and basically say, I don't know what you're complaining about, everything's okay. We've had various different issues with the finances. We've had, we lost probably our best player in the summer and never replaced them. We somehow have made what was an absolutely atrocious season last season and an emotional, I don't even want to say roller coaster, because I enjoy roller coasters, and I didn't enjoy last season one bit. An emotional sort of mountain climb last season. We've somehow made that worse. I didn't think it could get worse last season. I sat here after Palace, and a big part of that celebration for me, and a big part of that sort of relief and that release of energy after the game against Crystal Palace was was a thought of, it will never get this bad. It can't get this bad. It will never be like this again. We've survived it, and there was the relief and the the sort of as I said, the sheer sort of breath of air at the fact that we'd survived last season. But a big part of that for me also was, I was constantly sitting there in the summer thinking, well, it can't get worse than last season. Surely, even if we don't have a good season, even if we, still finish 13th or 14th or whatever, it can't be as bad as last season. And in every sense of the imagination, it has been worse. And if Everton are to survive this season, if Everton are to win on Sunday and be a Premier League team next season, if it gets worse again, we will go down. Because last season we survived on the penultimate game of the season. This season, if we are to survive, it will be on the last game of the season. And next season, as I've said before, if no changes are made, then we will be relegated. It's as simple as that. Everything that could have gone wrong this season has gone wrong in a worse way than it did last season, and I didn't think that was possible. But you think of all of that, and you contextualise all of that, and you think about the fact that we didn't sign a single player in January. The only Premier League clubs to not sign a single player in January. You think about the fact that, before that Brighton game, we looked absolutely down and out, and we didn't look like we could beat anybody. You think about the fact that we lost Richarlison and never replaced him. You think about the fact that, Neil Maupay come in and has not been anywhere near as good as what we may have hoped he would be, or certainly we needed him to be. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been out for pretty much the entirety of the season. We've been dreadful at home. We've lost 10 home games. We've only won 2 away games. We've been woeful away from home as well. We've had board members throw fans under the bus. We've had board members try and rectify their position at the football club, despite the fact it's blatantly untenable. We've had all of this go on in the background, and yet we are still in a position where all we need to do is win one game of football on Sunday, and Everton will remain a Premier League team next season. And the platform that then gives us is huge, because it gives us a platform to think, no, this can't happen again. And yes, we should have done this last season, and I understand that and I appreciate that. And maybe, me running a fan channel, and maybe all of us collectively as Evertonians should have been a little bit more, nailed down on the fact that the board needs to go and they're not the right people, etc. after that Palace game. But I do think there was a general overall feeling of, it won't happen again. It won't get this bad again. It can't happen again. But it has happened again. And there won't be those celebrations on Sunday like there was against Crystal Palace. There will be a massive sigh of relief again. Of course there will be. But we then have to target and focus on making the changes at this football club, or trying to, as I said, trying to let our feelings and thoughts be known to those in charge, and specifically Mr. Mashiri at the moment. Whether it'll be Mr. Mashiri in a couple of weeks, we'll wait and see. But changes seriously need to be made. However, the biggest positive I can think about, and I do want this video to be positive, I do want this preview to be positive, because I think we have to be. The biggest positive I can think of going into this game on Sunday is that somehow, after everything that has gone on this season, as I've said, it's worse than it was last season, and that was a pretty impossible feat to manage, but Everton have managed to do it. But even after all of that, it is still within our own hands. And Bournemouth are a decent team. They've had a good couple of months, but they're not Manchester City. They're not, the best side in the league. They're on 39 points. If Everton to win, we go to 36, 3 points behind them. Now, okay, Bournemouth have had a really, really, really good run, and that's fair enough. Of course they have, but they've lost their last 3 games, I believe. So, again, very, very, very possible for Bournemouth to tear it up on Sunday and not want to get physical, not want to get involved, not want to sort of, go the extra 10%, 5%, not want to put as much in as those Everton players are wanting to put in because they know we're safe now and tomorrow morning we'll be all going on our holidays. So why do we need to give that extra? We're already safe with, they've already exceeded expectation. It's humongous Sunday. It really, really, really is humongous. And as I said, I still am in disbelief that this situation is under Everton's control. And it is. And I appreciate that Bournemouth have beaten us twice already this season. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that Everton have lost 10 home games. And I appreciate that it's not a case of all we have to do is beat Bournemouth at home and that should be easy. It won't be easy. It'll be difficult because of the, because of the expectation, because of the pressure, because of the nerves, because of all of that. This, I don't expect this to be a 3-4-0 smashing as much as I would love that. And I would love that. I don't expect it to be like that because of the nerves and anxiety of the situation. However, there should be a comfortability knowing that this is in our hands. After everything that has gone on, this is in our hands. And I think the players need to know that. And I think the players need to realise that. And I think the players need to be sat down and told, listen, we are very, very, very fortunate to be in this position. Very fortunate to be in a position, not fighting relegation. And I'm not saying we as fans are fortunate, but the players are fortunate to be in a position where their destiny and their fate is in their own hands. Because for a lot of these players, based on a lot of their performances this season, they don't deserve that. But they are there. And they win on Sunday and they remain Premier League players next season. And, the sort of the black cloud that would hang over their heads of taking Everton down and being the set of players that got Everton relegated for the first time in 6 decades or whatever it's been, wouldn't be a thing if they win on Sunday. And that should be their motivation. Their motivation should be, do you know what? This has been tough, and we maybe have been a little bit fortunate at times. And don't get me wrong, we've been a little bit unfortunate at times as well. The Marty Gray's goal against Leeds, which should have stood. Connor Cody's goal against Liverpool, which should have stood. But generally, as I said, we can look back at the Marty Gray's goal a number of months ago, or Connor Cody's goal, but the thing I just keep thinking of, and John Jones has mentioned it in the comments. I don't know whether that's John Jones, the UFC fighter, or just John Jones, the Evertonian, but John's mentioned it in the comments. He says Pope save on Monday night. Yeah, again, I don't think about the Leeds result at Ellen Road where we should have won. I don't think about the derby where we should have won. I don't think about maybe a couple of the other decisions that have gone against us. I think about how we were, a couple of inches away from being in a really, really bad position. Now, if I'd have been sat here doing this game preview ahead of Sunday and Leicester had have won on Monday night, I don't really know what I would have said. Because I'd be sitting here almost thinking, well, yes, we need to win and all as we can do is win, but how do you motivate a set of players when, all as you can say is go out and win? And I know people would say, well, you could just say go out and win, that's all you can do, and then see what happens. But as I've said before, if Leicester had have won on Monday night, let's say, and Everton would have, their own fate would not have been in their own hands. Even had we have won, we may have still gone down. Let's say we went in at half-time, 1-0 down against Bournemouth, and, Leicester were winning. How would you motivate that set of players to go out in that second half and win that second half, knowing they're thinking, well, even if we do manage to do that, we could still go down here? The confidence would be on the floor, the motivation would be on the floor. It would be incredibly difficult. Whereas now, the players don't even need to know the results of the Leicester game or the Leeds game. They don't even need to know how those games are going and how those teams are getting on. All as they need to know is, are we winning? Right, okay, sound. If we're not winning, then we need to be winning. And obviously there's various different outcomes where Everton don't win on Sunday and still stay up, and even Everton lose on Sunday and still stay up. But for me, as I said yesterday, this is the biggest game of my lifetime. And it all comes down to this. Win on Sunday and you stay up. It's as simple as that. It doesn't get more easy. It doesn't get easier than that. Goodison will be absolutely booming. Absolutely booming. The fans will be there in full force. The voices will be heard. It will be as good as it's ever been, in my opinion, Goodison on Sunday. But the players have to show that performance to deserve that. I've said last week there is a scenario in which Everton come out flying first 15 minutes, get a couple of early chances like we did against Wolves, but instead of missing those early chances like we did against Wolves, we take them. Now, if Everton are 2-0 up after 25 minutes like we were away at Brighton, like we could have been against Wolves, then are Bournemouth really going to have it in them to come back in that game? Really? If they get to half-time, 2-0, are they really going to want to go that extra mile to go and win that game? Are they really going to want to do that? Probably not. Maybe they would because it's professional pride, etc., etc. But I think they'd probably just go, do you know what, get out of this. We'll move on from this. And again, that sounds so easy, doesn't it? Get a couple of early chances, take them. But Everton had a couple of early chances against Wolves, missed. We had a couple of early chances against Brighton, we took them, we won that game. It's again, we will get chances on Sunday. It's about taking them. How difficult will that be? Well, it will be difficult because we've got no Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and we know how much better we are with Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the team. Sean Dyche has had his press conference today. He's mentioned that Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Nathan Patterson will be unavailable for this game through injury, which is no surprise. Absolutely no surprise whatsoever. It was the least shocking news of the day. I could have told everybody that on Saturday when they hobbled off injured that they wouldn't be available for this game. The manager did say that Vitaly Mykolenko is progressing well and he will train today and a decision will be made on him tomorrow. And he also mentioned that Amadou Onana is fit as well after some reports on social media that he was unavailable. He will be fit. So, again, as expected, some decisions are going to have to be made by the manager as to how we set up and how we can maximise our opportunities on Sunday. For me, that isn't Neil Maupay. Now, that might be Damari Gray up front. It might be Ellis Sims up front. I don't really know. But at the end of the day, Sean Dyche has been brought into this football club to keep us up. Now, I think Sean Dyche splits opinion amongst Evertonians. I think there's some Blues that think he's done a really, really good job and really like him and would want him to stay. I think there's some Blues that think he's done an okay job and, ultimately, if he was to leave at the end of the season, they wouldn't have much of an issue with it. I am very much in the camp of he's done a decent job up to now, but it all relies on Sunday. If Everton are relegated on Sunday, then Sean Dyche hasn't been able to achieve what he was brought in to achieve. Now, that isn't necessarily all his fault, of course it isn't. Injuries, lack of signings in January, etc., etc. Players just not being good enough. I'm not putting it all down to Sean Dyche, but the reality is he has been brought in to do a job, and that job is to keep Everton in the Premier League, and he is in a position where he can do that on Sunday. And if he does that, then he absolutely deserves an opportunity to continue with this team and see what he can build in the summer. But Sean Dyche would have snatched your hand off 3 weeks ago, when Everton lost to Newcastle on a Thursday night. If you would have said to Sean Dyche, right, I'm going to give you the last game of the season, you win it, you're safe, he'd have snatched your hand off for that. That was because of how down and out we looked at that point. Our last performance, Wolves, 98th minute, we nicked the point out of it, a point that could be a really, really important point. It all sort of adds into, it all adds up and sort of equates to Sunday. Sunday is like the season finale of season number 2 of, well, not season number 2, but certainly season number 2 of this, rendition of Everton. And this is the finale on Sunday. As I said, I physically cannot put into words how important this game of football is. it is humongous. And, you know, if you have a look at Bournemouth at the moment, as I said, 15th in the Premier League, currently 11 wins, 6 draws, 20 defeats this season. Their last few results, of course, lost to Manchester United last time out. That was at home. Last away game, they lost 2-0 to Crystal Palace. They lost 3-1 to Chelsea at home before that. A Chelsea team who I think have only won that one game since Frank Lampard has come in. Last time they won was on the 30th of April, 4-1 to Leeds United. They beat Southampton before that. They were beaten by West Ham at home 4-0. They beat Tottenham before that as well. Obviously, as I said, they've done an absolutely fantastic job, and Gary O'Neill has done an absolutely wonderful job to get them to the position that they are in. I think Bournemouth were a side that most fans would have had nailed on to go down this season at the start of the season, and certainly midway through the season as well. I think most fans would have had nailed on to go down, and Gary O'Neill has come in and done an absolutely fantastic job to keep them there. Do they have the motivation to go and give that extra 15-20% that they may need to on Sunday? I don't know. Everton players should have that motivation, because their motivation is simple. They win, they stay in the Premier League. They lose, and, you know, they live with knowing that they're the players that have taken Everton down. Would many of them be bothered about that? I'm not quite sure, because these are professional footballers we're talking about, and, you know, they don't have much loyalty, do they? Let's be honest. But, you know, again, I would like to think that these players would be devastated by that fact. We know Bournemouth have got some decent signings in there. The likes of Ouattara, of course, who Everton were interested in January. He obviously signed for Bournemouth. Tavernier they've got, Philip Billings, Solanke, a number of players. But the one that really sticks out for me, who I believe is injured going into this game, is Junior Stanislas. And the reason I say that is because I don't think I've ever seen Junior Stanislas score a goal for Bournemouth unless it's been against Everton. And every single time he plays Everton, he turns into prime Lionel Messi. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he is unavailable for this game, because the last thing we need is Junior Stanislas, on the team sheet on Sunday. And I do want to say as well about Bournemouth, I think there's a bit of a false representation about the Bournemouth results this season. Now, obviously, listen, Bournemouth, as I said, have done fantastic over the course of the last few months, and since Gary O'Neill has come in, he's done a wonderful job there, and he deserves all of the credit in the world for that. And they did, you know, they beat us 7-1 over the course of 2 games earlier on in the season, of course, away from home, and, you know, they were absolutely dominant in those fixtures, and we looked absolutely horrific. But a lot has changed since then. Firstly, we've got a much better manager now in sense of being a football manager and knowing how to set teams up to defend and knowing how to avoid situations like that. You know, I think Frank Lampard has shown during his time at Chelsea that he truly is a woeful football manager. You know, whether you like him or not, and whether you think fondly of him because of, you know, last season and the Palace game, etc. And I don't mind Frank Lampard. I think he seems like a genuinely alright fella, but as a football manager, he just isn't very good. And we know Sean Dyche is much better than that. But also, those 2 games were away from home. Now, if you actually look at Everton's head-to-heads with Bournemouth, we've got a dreadful record away from home to Bournemouth. An absolutely abysmal record. I can't remember the last time we won there. Even prior to this season, even when we were good under Martinez and we were fighting for European football, we still had difficult times down there in Bournemouth. Now, barring that defeat in Carlo Ancelotti's season, where they turned up at Goodison on the final day of the season and beat us, again, they were relegated at the time and we had nothing to play for. I don't think in the last 6 or 7 fixtures there's been a game other than that one where Bournemouth have gotten anything at Goodison. I remember us beating them 6-3. I remember us beating them 3-1. I remember us beating them 2-0, I believe. Our head-to-head against Bournemouth at Goodison is very, very good, barring that one game where they turned up and beat us, as I said, 3-1. And, you know, there was absolutely no importance on that game. There was no importance. Blue says our home record against them is pretty embarrassing as well, to be fair. I don't think it is. I really, really don't think it is. I'm going to get it up now because I have actually seen the stats. But I can't remember where I seen it. Bear with me 2 seconds. Let me try and get this head to head. Oh, it's taken me all the way down to 1937. I don't want that. Where are we? Where are we? So. Here we go. Let's have a look at the Goodison game. So the last one was that game in 2020 under Carlo Ancelotti. We lost 3-1. Okay, before that, our last home game against Bournemouth before that, we won 2-0 in 2019. Prior to that, 2017, we won 2-1. We also won 2-1 earlier in we won 2-1 in September 2017. We won 6-3 in February 2017 to Bournemouth at Goodison. We won 2-1 in April 2016. We won 3-2 in September 1985, and then, we're going back there. But out of those fixtures at Goodison Park, we've lost one in pretty much, what? 100 years nearly, 80 years, something like that, at Goodison, it seems, against Bournemouth. Now, okay, as I said, away from home, we've got a really, really, really poor record. Really, really, really poor record. But other than that game, where Josh King turned up and absolutely wiped the floor with us, we've generally got a really good record against Bournemouth at Goodison. Now, even saying that, I don't really think records matter at this point, because all that matters is that Everton need to win this game of football. Bournemouth don't need to win this game of football. If Bournemouth don't win it, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. They go home, they probably go on holiday the next day, and they are congratulated, and rightly so, for what was very close to a miracle in them staying in the Premier League this season. But for those Everton players, this is all or nothing. It's do or die. Everything is on this game. It will be tough. Of course it will be tough. Bournemouth are a good side, managed well. And as I said, Gary O'Neill is a contender for manager of the season. So it's not going to be an easy feat. It's certainly not going to be an easy game. But and I mean absolutely no disrespect to Bournemouth when I say this. And I mean absolutely no disrespect because I know that there's every chance that Bournemouth turn up at Goodison on Sunday and beat us because they're a better team than us at the moment. But if Everton can't beat Bournemouth, a Bournemouth team with nothing to play for, who have lost their last 3 games and have won once in Goodison in the last 100 odd years or whatever it is, won once at Goodison, in the last 100 odd years. If Everton can't turn up and beat that Bournemouth side in the most important game that most of these players will have ever played in, then can any of us really sit here and say we deserve to be playing in the Premier League? I don't think we can. It's all on this, and as I said, what worries me the most is that pressure, that nervousness, that anxiety from the players, and I think the fans as well. Don't get me wrong, I think the fans will be amazing on Sunday, and I'll be there in full force as well, but there will be a lot of anxiety. There will be a lot of stress, there will be a lot of worry, and if Everton go 1-0 down in the opening 10 minutes, I can't even begin to imagine what the feeling will be like within Goodison Park. But as I said, we are in a very, very good position in the sense that we don't need to worry about what's going on around us. All as we need to do is win this game of football. And if we don't win this game of football, then all we can do is hope. But if we do win this game of football, then we don't even need to look at the scores of the other 2 games. As the Blues says, that the season they beat us was the COVID year at the end of it, Carlo Ancelotti's season. We will get chances in this game. If we take them, as I said, if you take a couple of chances in the first half, then the crowd will be lifted, the place will be buzzing. Will Bournemouth realistically have it in them to want to give that extra 10-15% to get back in the game? I'm not sure. In terms of team news, obviously, Sean Dyche has got some big decisions to make. He's got some big decisions to make at the back. Who does he bring in at right back? Ben Godfrey still unavailable. Mason Holgate obviously is an option. We know Nathan Patterson is still unavailable, as is Seamus Coleman. Who does he bring in there? Up front, a big decision to make as well. Who replaces Dominic Calvert-Lewin? For me, I think we will see I'm going to go with Vitaly Mykolenko, left wing back. I'm going to go with... Oh, I don't know. I really don't want Mason Holgate in this team because I just don't trust Mason Holgate. I really don't. But then, if you're playing wing backs, you've probably got to play McNeil left wing back and maybe a Wolby right wing back. But then that's 5 at the back and people don't like... No, I'm going to go with Pickford in goal. I'll go with Mykolenko left back. I'm going to go with Tarkowski and Mina centre half. No reason to change that partnership. I'm going to go with probably... Do you know what? I'm going to go with James Garner at right back. I'm going to go with a midfield 3 of Onana, Garner and Doucouré again. And then I'm going to go McNeil, Iwobi and Damari Gray up front. I think if we play a flat back 4, I think that's the most likely outcome. If we play 5 at the back, I think it will probably be McNeil left wing back with probably James Garner right wing back, and then obviously Connor Cody in the centre, and maybe Onana be taken out of that. But yeah, I it's impossible for me to pick this team because it's such a difficult decision for the manager to make. I wouldn't have Neil Maupay anywhere near the team. I just don't think he's quick enough, or I just don't think he's particularly motivated enough to be what we need him to be. And realistically, I don't think we're going to see Ellis Sims anywhere near it either. So, yeah. Reality is, I don't know. What I do know is Everton need to win this game of football. And it's humongous. It's absolutely humongous. It doesn't even bear thinking about what could happen if we don't win it. And I don't just mean relegation. I mean how that would look for the future of this football club. But, as I said at the start of this video, we need to remain positive. And the biggest positive going into this game, the absolute biggest positive, is after everything that's gone on this season, on the pitch and off the pitch, we are still in a position where it's in our hands. And we can't afford to let that slip. We cannot afford to not take that opportunity. You know, our home record has been awful this season. Other than Brighton, we've not really battered anybody this season. We've not really taken our chances in the final third. I get all of that. But all as we need to do is do it on Sunday. And then we can breathe a breath of fresh air and we can look forward to the future. But there you go. We're going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. We will be back on Sunday. Of course, we will be with the instant match reaction and the player ratings, regardless of the outcome. So don't forget to look out for those. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe as well. That would mean a massive amount to me. Massive thanks to everybody for watching live. Really appreciate it. And if you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below. Big thank you all for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. And we'll see you later.